What's going on, Dope fam? Back with another video. Today's a massive one. We finally had a breakout on the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. We're actually going to get a daily confirmation in 9 minutes. And just looking at the chart, look guys, like it's really looking like we're making our way well into the 2.9 range, which will definitely start the base chain alt season in my opinion. And that will probably be the next pit stop for Ethereum to go to, because I really do think that with the confirmation of Ethereum actually breaking out above the 3.04 key region, we're probably going to go to the 4.1k region probably within like 30 to 60 days or so, and that will of course allow our altcoins like TOSHI, Alien Base to really get moving. But without further ado, I'm Dope Oxide. I make content on YouTube, X, and CoinMarketCap, so be sure to follow those pages, be sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to also ring the bell on my X page. I make content around the base chain ecosystem. I made a really long thesis on why you guys should actually be bullish on TOSHI, as well as the base chain ecosystem, and why I think that really, if you guys just throw a dart on anything that's legitimate on the base chain ecosystem, you'll probably make money for the remainder of this bull cycle. And I do think that base chain will probably have an easy mode season in the next few months or so. But let's get right into it. First of all, for liquidations, we had a decent amount of liquidations. We had $550 million in 24 hours. And the long-short ratio is actually looking like it's flipping to the majority short side. So once again, the bears are getting cocky and loud here, and I do think they're about to get liquidated probably sometime this week. I do think Bitcoin all-time highs will probably happen back to back, because we just had a confirmation of breakout, of course, pretty much like a few days ago, and I really do think that this continuation should be happening, and we're probably going to be on our way to well into the 150k range within a month or so. And same goes for Ethereum. I do think with this confirmation and this daily close actually getting confirmed in 7 minutes, but we're probably going to get that 4.1k key region to get swept. And if I was to draw it out, it's probably going to happen something like this, where we're going to have some massive volatility and then make our way and tag the 4.1k. But let's see how Ethereum actually reacts at this 4.1k region, because of course, if we do get a reaction and a break above this, the next resistance really is all-time highs and then price discovery. But one step at a time. But it's looking really good for Ethereum, because we just had that breakout. We were actually having like pretty much upwards accumulation the past few days, which is really bullish. As you guys can see, we had a nice little uprising channel, and we're looking like we're actually going to break out of it. So yeah, so as you guys can see, we've actually confirmed a breakout of this upwards accumulation, which is typically bearish, but this just confirms this is upwards accumulation, and the buyers are really stepping in fast for Ethereum, and it's pretty much a force to be reckoned with. Like, look, it's really looking like we're probably going to tag that 4.1k region probably sometime next month, because I do think acceleration will occur. But when it comes to the liquidations for Bitcoin, at least, Bitcoin actually has a lot of liquidation getting built up above us, which is really good to see. We have a lot at 118k region. But if I look at the 3-day time frame, yeah, like as you guys can see, majority of the liquidations is mostly in the shorts. So once again, the bears are getting cocky here. And we just have a ton here. We do have a bit happening at the 115k region. Let's see if it gets swept, because it did technically get swept pretty much last night when the CPI numbers came out. And in my opinion, the CPI numbers, it came out slightly hot. And that's bullish in my opinion, because I do not want rate cuts to happen very quickly. Because in my opinion, I do think rate cuts will mean that we're probably closer to the top than we think. And yeah, it looks like this month at least there won't be a rate cut. But if we look at September, yeah, it's pretty much 50-50 as it stands right now. Ideally, in September, we don't get a rate cut, but if I was to guess, I think we're going to, just because the numbers show that, and the economy at least, we pretty much have to cut. But in saying that, of course, the rate cuts, I do not want to get changed, because like the market's been totally fine without rate cuts, and it just tells me it's another sort of like top signal checkbox getting ticked that we're getting that rate cut, and the mass euphoria will be coming in. And more than likely, we'll probably have like two to 3 months max after the first rate cut, in my opinion, for the bull market. When it comes to long-short ratio, like I said to you guys from last video, I do think that the long-short ratio is squeezing to the upside. It looks like we're going to get a squeeze to the upside for the long-short ratio, because it's just looking like, yeah, we have a nice little downtrend here, but it looks like it wants to break out to the upside. And of course, that is totally fine, because I showed you guys, look, it's looking like if we were to break out, the scenario where we're at right now is sort of looking similar to where we were back in early 2024, where we had a massive uptick in Bitcoin's price. And as you guys can see, we had that squeeze and then just had a nice little uptrend to the upside. So I do think if I was to guess what happens now, we're probably going to squeeze up and just make our merry way to the upside for that long short ratio, because people go mass flooding in leverage, and more than likely the longs will carry the price up. But yeah, so let's see where it goes. But of course, this will mean that we're getting close to at least a local top once that occurs. But there's zero reason to think that Bitcoin is topping here. I really do think continuation will occur. And if we actually look at the weekly price for Bitcoin and this uptrend I've drawn out here, so this is just an uptrend that's been created since 2017. So it's nearly 10 years of history. And as you guys can see, it's been hit as resistance multiple times. And it actually got hit at resistance earlier this year, back in February, twice. So actually, it got hit in December 2024, as well as February 2025. So as you guys can see though, and I'll just zoom in to make it easier for you guys, we actually retested it as support pretty much yesterday. So as you guys can see, we wicked down slightly down below it, and we're actually making our way up. So as long as we get a confirmation and a weekly candle above this trend line, I do think continuation will occur. And if you guys are wondering what this trend line is, this trend line is just pretty much the trend line that we've been in since June 2025 of our impulse to the upside. So ideally what happens here is we hold this as long as we can, and pretty much we just hold this trend line until we get to that 150k region, because I do think a stronger pullback and correction will occur once we hit that 140 to 160k target. And as long as we hold it, I don't think we're going to get a big correction. Of course, we're going to get 10% corrections on the way, but we'll get that massive like 20 to 30% corrections once we hit that price target of the 140 to 150k region. Looking at Ethereum to Bitcoin, looking absolutely amazing. I'm sure you guys looked at it and saw it on my thumbnail. But looking at this, it's actually looking so good right now. We're obviously going to head to that 29k region. We're going to get that daily close in 1 minute. It's going to be our first higher high printing basically since May 2022. So it's looking so bullish for Ethereum to Bitcoin. And really, this confirmation just tells me the Bitcoin dominance is really going to start breaking down. As long as this keeps trending up, I find it really hard to believe for Bitcoin dominance to also keep going up. So this just really tells me base season is starting to warm up, and more than likely we get that true base altcoin season once we break above the 29k region. But for now, Ethereum will probably take the spotlight. We can already see that daily confirmation above the 3.1k region is absolutely massive, because pretty much every time we've used this as support, 3-1. Because pretty much every time we use this as support, we've made a fast track to the upside to that 4.1k region, and it will probably be the same this time around. So I do think probably in the next 30 days, do not be surprised that Ethereum hits that 4k key region. I do expect consolidation and probably resistance to get hit majorly at that point. So if I was to draw up, we'll probably consolidate for a few weeks, or maybe even have a fast, sharp correction once we hit that key region. And then hopefully we can get back above it, because if we do get above the 4.1k key region, we're probably going to head to all-time highs and head into price discovery. But also something to note as well, we've pretty much hit this 4k key region 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So touching trend lines and resistance on the 5th attempt usually means we're probably going to break it. So it just increases our chances slightly that Ethereum will break it to the upside and the price discovery will occur after. But let's see where we go, one step at a time. But it's looking really good for Ethereum, and there's no reason to be bearish on Ethereum as well as Bitcoin right now. For total coin market cap, I was telling you guys recently, the weekly RSI, like we just have to wait on the weekly RSI to breakouts. Of course, price wise, we're looking really good, but I definitely want to see the weekly RSI to break out of this trend line here. So we have a major, it's technically going to be a bearish divergence if we roll over from here, but not confirmed yet. We definitely want to have a breakout for this RSI, because it just tells me we're going to go well into price discovery and at least 2x the existing all-time high. But looking at the RSI, it's going to take at least a month, in my opinion, to actually break out of this. We're actually like a long ways away for that. So let's see where we go for that. But I will monitor you guys and relay the charts to you guys and make sure you guys are up to date. But as it stands right now, weekly RSI, ideally we get that breakout to the upside, because it just tells me we have more time in this bull cycle and a much more explosive move to happen. But it's going to take at least a month for this to get confirmed. But looking at Ethereum, it's pretty much just front running what Total 3 is about to do, in my opinion. So it's looking good right now. No reason to be bearish. Stock market, Look at the stock market. I did draw a bull flag. Yeah, so we actually faked out this bull flag, and it's looking like the plan is still intact, where the stock market will probably just consolidate for a bit longer, probably another month or so, and then breakout, which is obviously good for us because we're seeing clear rotation of the stock market to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And this breather just tells me that we have more time to go for Bitcoin and Ethereum. And more than likely, Ethereum probably hits that 4K key region before stock markets actually blast off. So, which is really bullish because, of course, most of us are in the crypto markets. Next up is TOSHI. Of course, TOSHI is the #1 base native meme coin. If you guys want to read my thesis, make sure to go to my X page at Dope Oxide, because I did write down and pretty much just gave you guys an outline why I'm so bullish on TOSHI. And when it comes to price chart analysis, it's looking good right now. Like I actually tweeted this chart and updated you guys over on my X, but showing you guys on YouTube, as you guys can see, these circles pretty much represent the last times we actually tested supports and resistances. So let me just go to my brush here. So this is moving average. This is actually the 50 and 100 moving average for the 12-hour time frame. And it's just something really to note, because as you guys can see, we've tested as resistance, support, support, support. And every time we tested the moving averages support multiple times, we had a nice little blast off to the upside. And something to note, we actually tested as resistance early on in the year, and finally, for once, we're actually testing a support, and we're actually getting that bullish crossover. So as you guys can see, the moving average is actually crossing over. And looking back previously, when we had that monster run to the upside, we actually had a bullish crossover before then. So it's looking really bullish for TOSHI. And pretty much all we have to wait for now really is, if I just zoom in to make it easier for you guys, all we have to do really is just wait for that 12-hour RSI. It's actually looking like it's peeking its head out. So if I was to draw this better, let me just draw about it. Yeah, so it's actually technically breaking out. And once we get that confirmation, we're probably going to blast off from here. And looking at the price consolidation as well, we actually tested this downtrend multiple times. This is, of course, on the lower time frames. And it's really looking like we're going to sprout above this bullish consolidation. I wouldn't be surprised TOSHI breaks out before this video gets uploaded. And it's really looking like to me it will break out, because just looking at this, it's actually the fourth touch we've actually hit this trend line. And of course, the RSI will be breaking out after that. So it's looking really bullish for TOSHI. Pretty much the nail in the coffin for the bears for the TOSHI chart is breaking out of his downtrend. This downtrend has been created since TOSHI's $1 billion run to the upside when it got listed on Coinbase. And if we do break out above this, more than likely that means a breakout above the 6.5 key region. I've told you guys multiple times, if we break above the 6.5 key region, we're probably going to head our way well into all-time highs and beyond. Nonetheless, it's going to be major resistance, and I would not be surprised we have major consolidation just below it. But once we do expect TOSHI to actually get started moving quite quickly, especially with Ethereum breaking out. And yeah, so it's looking really bullish for TOSHI. Looking at the daily chart, the daily RSI is looking awesome as well. And really, we just have to wait, because TOSHI is looking really good right now. And I would not be surprised if we go into all-time highs sometime in August, especially if Ethereum keeps up this performance. When it comes to Alien Base, let me just load up the Alien Base chart. Alien Base is in the same spot as pretty much last video. We're back in that purple box. Of course, the purple box is a major risk to reward level to accumulate, in my opinion. And really, for Alien Base, you guys have time to accumulate. And I do expect Alien Base to really pop off, like always, at the peak or end of the bull cycle. Reason being is it's a microcap, and microcaps tend to only really run when the cycle is like basically in a major risk on scenario. And as it stands, we're only just like leaking over into the risk on territory. Ethereum probably needs to get above that 4K region first. And I do expect Alien Base to have massive multiples. I would not be surprised Alien Base goes beyond its previous all-time high. Like, if it does start breaking out of its accumulation range, I do expect at least a 7x from here. And yeah, it's just looking really great. When it comes to Base Chain in general, Base is actually integrating DEXs on their Coinbase app. So that's another catalyst to look forward to. And because of that DEX integration on Base Chain through the Coinbase app, I do think Aerodrome will really start getting inflows from those Coinbase users. And of course, Aerodrome's market cap will pump up in price, and people will be looking for high betas. And it's pretty clear to me, Alien Base is the high beta, and it's such a smaller market cap than Aerodrome. 720 mil compared to 10 mil. So when it comes to multiples, people will do that catch-up trade. And I do think Alien Base will have absolute massive returns, because in my opinion, Aerodrome is going well beyond the 2 billion key region. And If it gets back above 2 billion, and going back to my numbers of like Alien Base probably taking like 20% of the market cap share, I would not be surprised Alien Base gets above the 200 mil area, which is at least a 20x from here. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is just my opinion, and I'm only relaying what possible narratives I see and the charts I actually show to you guys and relay to you guys. So please do not listen to me. None of this is financial advice, of course, and it's just my opinion. But yeah, so Aerodrome's looking really good. Of course, if you guys want to like invest in a really good like safe position that's pretty much a clear high beta to base chains adoption, Aerodrome's another one. But of course, Toshi, in my opinion, will have probably the best returns when it comes to risk reward, because it's already on Coinbase, and I do expect more listings to occur for Toshi. But when it comes to Alien Base, it's a bit riskier, but if it does get running, it's going to get running even harder than the other tokens. And like I said, at least a 20x if Aerodrome gets above that 2 billion K region. So like looking at Aerodrome, if it gets above 2 billion, that's a 3x from here. But if Aerodrome gets above 2 billion, Alien Base has potential to go 20x plus. So you guys can do the math and you guys can figure out what you want to invest in. But probably the safest position, in my opinion, and in my portfolio is Toshi, because it is the #1 base native meme coin of base chain, and I do still think that meme coins will lead the bull cycle, and purely based on the case that Toshi is the #1 base native meme coin. And just going back to my thesis on base chain and Toshi, I do expect multiple billions for Toshi, just purely based on the case that Toshi is the #1 base native meme coin. And the thing to note also too is like with that DEX wallet integration, it's going to allow retail users to buy base native tokens natively on the Coinbase app with their credit card, etc. So it's going to be absolutely amazing for Toshi, for Alien Base, Aerodrome, and other base native tokens. That's why I always tell you guys, for base chain at least, if you just throw a dart on any single base native token that's building legitimate stuff on base chain, you'll probably make decent returns, because I do think base chain as a whole will have a massive run to the upside, and that also has a prerequisite of Ethereum breaking out. But with this confirmation of Ethereum breaking out, it's looking really good for the altcoins, looking really good for base. But yeah, so that's all to the video, guys. If you guys liked the video, like and subscribe. Comment down below if you guys have any coins you want me to cover, and any other subject pieces you guys also want me to cover. But yeah, so that's all to the video, guys. Have a good one. Have a good day. Peace.